Welcome to this edition of our program, Egypt's Vote. And as usual, we will be discussing a broad topic that we focus on each episode. We focus on an important challenge that Egypt has passed by during the past 4 years. And today we chose to speak about the economic process in Egypt. And in 4 years, the economy in Egypt has witnessed lots and lots of changes. Mega projects have been implemented during 4 consecutive years. Reform programs have been taken, drastic measures have been taken in order to put the economy on track. There have been many issues that have been changing on the economic side in Egypt. Plus, of course, the investment law that has been amended, plus, of course, lots of other issues and plans that have been put in order to reach or to achieve what we aspire for and to contribute to our economy. One of those was the plan of 2030, and of course during the 4 years these have been the basis, or what we have worked on were the basis of putting the infrastructure of such a plan. Today we'll be speaking about this and more in our episode with our distinguished guest, Ambassador Mohammed Elhouseni, Economic Committee Director at the United Nations Organization, later on in our show. But before we delve into our discussion, we have with us some of the infograph and vox pops and more with our colleague Ahmed Nader. And Ahmed.
Hello, Mona. Thank you very much. Yes, as Mona said, today we'll be speaking about the economic developments in Egypt in the past 4 years under the tenure of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the cabinet of Engineer Prime Minister Sharif Ismail, and of course the upcoming developments and the upcoming economic reform programs which will be implemented in Egypt in the upcoming 4 years following the presidential elections, which will be taking place on the 26th, the 27th and the 28th of March. I will be presenting an infographic chart about the constitutional regulations regarding the upcoming presidential elections. We will be having a Vox Pops report about the opinions of the Egyptians on the streets about participating in the presidential elections, and Mrs. Vivienne Morcos, an Egyptian expatriate living in the United Kingdom, will be speaking about the participation of the Egyptian expatriates about the presidential elections. We will be taking a quick break and we'll be returning once again on Egypt Votes.
Under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, success stories all over Egypt.
مصر في انتظار المزيد من العمل والإنتاج.
New Suez Canal. Developing Sinai. Building on our strength.
القوات المسلحة مسؤولة عن الأمن القومي لمصر.
Building new cities, new social housing projects.
احنا بنعمل أمر التاريخ هيتوقف قدامه كتير.
Developing slum areas. Regaining Egypt's leading role, regionally and internationally. Supporting women empowerment. Engaging the youth.
قيام رئاسة الجمهورية بالتنسيق مع جميع أجهزة الدولة نحو عقد مؤتمر شهري للشباب.
Supporting national industries.
احنا بنتكلم كلام بجد عشان نبني بلد.
infrastructure.
الغاز اللي احنا محتاجينه هيتم تدبيره من عندنا هنا من مصر. مصر تستحق منكم اللي ادتكم على مدى آلاف السنين ما أنتم فيه.
Together, we make change.
Welcome back. You're still watching Egypt Votes, and for the first segment of the program, we'll be having an infographic chart about the constitutional regulations regarding the upcoming presidential elections here in Egypt on the 26th, on the 27th, and the 28th of March between incumbent President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Mustafa Musa, the head of Al-Ghad party, as the presidential elections are being seen as the message from Egypt to the world during the upcoming challenges and the ongoing challenges and the threats that we have faced in the past 4 years and the upcoming 4 years as well. So we'll be seeing the infographic chart and we'll be returning once again to you. Welcome back. You're still watching Egypt Votes, and right now it's time for the Egyptians to speak, and we'll be seeing a report about the Egyptians on the streets saying whether they will be participating in the upcoming presidential elections on the 26th till the 28th of March, and in which way, because the Egyptians have a voice, and their voice will be their choice. We'll be taking the Egypt Votes report about the Vox Pops and the Egyptians on the streets saying their say.
Like you have to be there. Well, it's the image of Egypt. It's not that I'm choosing the one I like or I'm not choosing the one I dislike. It is the image of Egypt at the end. We have all to be there. We have all to be there and to elect and to elect. We have to be all in the elections. The number of people attending is the empowering of Egypt more and putting Egypt in the right track for it.
المشاركة في الانتخابات ده حق كل مواطن، خصوصا في المرحلة دي لازم كل مواطن يشارك بإبداء رأيه، لأن ده حق أي مواطن دلوقتي. عشان العجله تمشي، وهو صوت لازم عشان حتى يبقى فيه ديمقراطيه ومنطقيه في الانتخابات.
أكيد المشاركة مهمة طبعا، كدوري من كشاب لازم أشارك في العملية الانتخابية، ده مستقبلي ولازم أنا اللي أحدده، لازم أنا أختار الرئيس المقبل، ليا مجموعة مطالب، فأكيد بناء عليها أنا اللي أحدد مين اللي هينفذ لي المطالب دي.
المشاركة في الانتخابات بعيدا عن أي شعارات، أنه لا يمكن لمواطن في دولة حديثة أن لا يشارك في أهم حدث في أي دولة، وهو انتخاب رئيس لهذه الدولة. عالم السياسة في التاريخ الحديث أثبت أن الانتخابات هي أساس الحياة السياسية، ولا يمكن أن تقام حياة سياسية في أي دولة مهما اختلف مستواه الاقتصادي أو الفكري دون انتخابات.
المشاركة واجب على كل مواطن مصري خلال الفترة الجاية علشان يدي رسالة للعالم بحجم الوعي السياسي اللي بيشهده الشارع المصري، وفي نفس الوقت بيأكد على الدعوة المصرية الخالصة لمحاربة الإرهاب والوقوف وراء القيادة السياسية.
I believe we should all elect and put our hands together for our country, Egypt. So I encourage all of you, please, to go and do the elections.
Welcome back. You're still watching Egypt Votes. That was a report about the Egyptian participation of the Egyptians in the upcoming presidential elections. And they know that their voice is their choice on the 26th till the 28th of March about the presidential elections between the incumbent President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Mustafa Musa, the head of Al-Ghaddi party. Right now, we'll be turning to the Egyptian expatriates living outside of Egypt. And we're joined with Dr. Viviane Morcos, the Egyptian expatriate living in the United Kingdom, and more specifically in London through Skype. Dr. Viviane, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning.
Good afternoon here in
Good afternoon,
Egypt.
rather. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
Dr. Viviane, if we can speak about the upcoming presidential elections for the Egyptian expatriates living outside of Egypt, how do you see the participation of them in the elections?
I think all the Egyptians are so keen in participating in these elections because it's a patriotic duty, it's a national duty that they go and choose their president, and they're also enthusiastic to doing that. A lot of preparation is done for that purpose in the churches and all that. They're organizing buses and all that, so everybody would go and have the chance to go and implement his human rights, which is the choice of the president. And it's a pleasure to be near Egypt at this occasion, because you go and you elect the president in the embassy, and it brings everybody nearer to Egypt and to our beloved country. So it's so important for everybody here to do their duty.
Doctor, if we can speak about the recent developments and the economic reform programs that we have witnessed here in the country, how do you think the British media outlets can see those developments and these projects?
Unfortunately, not all of them see that, because they have a big problem of their own now, the Brexit and how to get out of Brexit. And it really is a big trouble and a big problem here for the UK. So for those who are interested in the Egyptian politics, of course, they follow up. But unfortunately, not all the media transmit the right image of Egypt, which is have been witnessed by all of us in Egypt. I don't want to mention any specific broadcasting agents that try to spread wrong information about Egypt. So, but for the Egyptian, the British investors, Egypt is a very promising country for the investment right now.
Yes.
And actually, for Egypt is #1 African destination for the investment in Africa now. Before it used to be South Africa that used to take all the investments, and because of the political instability and all that, and because of all the reforms, economic reforms that Egypt did in the past year or the past few years, and all the laws for investors and all that, it is a real pleasure for investors to come to Egypt. And besides, there are a lot of fields waiting for investors. I know there are a lot of investment already done in so many fields. Oil and gas, a lot of the international organizations have been participating in driving the oil and gas exploration and production in Zohra plant and all the other plants that are being discovered right now. Egypt is becoming a very promising country for energy, and or the subsidies of electricity, and all the other, let's say, investment in the different fields in the solar energy. We'll be exporting as well some solar energy. The plants, the fishery plants that have been done. I think that in every field the investment has been done in such a big scale and in such a speed that no one believed what happened in Egypt, despite all the problems that Egypt had in the past year, the past few years. No one could imagine that Egypt would get out so grandiosely and so prominently,
yes,
with all the projects that have been going on. And we see that a lot of investors are coming, and investments have gone up in participation in billions of dollars. They came. It has been improving, and despite the floating of the pound and all that, it has improved the economy of Egypt, contrary to a lot of people thought. But Egypt is becoming now more and more attractive for foreign investors and foreign direct investment, and even domestic investment. So we'll see as well all the fields that can be invested in. Real estate, we see a lot of real estate that will be attractive to a lot of foreigners as well, because we have the nice climate, we have the perfect location in the sea. We have the taste for everyone who wants to be in the desert, who wants to be in the sea. A lot of people will be looking at Egypt as a destination for retirement housing, and a lot of housing have been done recently. We see the development in Marsa Matruh, the new Marsa Matruh city, yes, and New Al Alamein city. I mean, all these real estate development are a perfect destination for those who are seeking a nicer climate for the retirement.
So
and,
do you think, yes, Dr. Vivian, do you think that Egypt is taking the right steps towards economic development? And as we did see in the past 4 years, do you think that more will be coming in the upcoming 4 years following the presidential elections?
Of course, Egypt is in the right path, because what has been done up to now is a building for the future. All these roads, all these projects, all these buildings, Asmara, and all these locations to take people first to improve their social standard and to make them feel that they are part of this country and live with dignity. And this didn't happen before. So those people that will have a different future than before they were living in the shanty towns and all that. It will change the vision of the youth to being a useful, good youth in the future. And beside all the oil and gas exploration, will put Egypt on the highest countries that export gas, that have autosufficiency in gas as well, which is very important, because at a certain time we used to import gas to have our sufficiency. But now, with time and very, very shortly, we'll be having our autosufficiency and we'll be able to export as well gas and all these oil fields that are being discovered. And now with the Red Sea as well, there'll be other explorations in these areas. And luckily as well, as the president said, the borders in the sea are very important to be defined, because when you have your border, you know where are your limits, where you can use your exploration sites and all that, and you'll be sure that where you're going to explore is going to be money coming to you. So for the Red Sea as well, very recently, they'll be doing hopefully the border limitation between the countries looking at the Red Sea.
Yes,
so
Dr. Vivienne Morcos, the Egyptian expatriate living in the United Kingdom and specifically in London, thank you very much for being with us today on Egypt Votes. And we will be returning once again to my colleague Mona following a short break, so stay tuned.
A story of a nation determined to succeed.
مستقبل الأمم ما بيتعملش بالكلام، البلاد بتطلع بالعرق وبالجهد وبالمسؤولية وبالأمانة وبالإخلاص وبالشرف. اللي انتم شايفينه ده ما كان يتحقق ابدا غير بالاستقرار والامن وثباتكم يا مصريين. الدنيا بتشتغل لان ورا منها دوله بتشتغل.
Together we make change.
تحية تقدير واحترام لبطل حقيقي، البطل ده هو مصر وشعبها. الحكاية مش حكاية لا حكومة ولا قيادة، ده حكاية كل مواطن في مصر. أكرمتوا مصر وشرفتوا مصر وعزيتوا مصر، انتم قتلتوا. فالشرف كل الشرف والكرامة كل الكرامة والفضل كل الفضل لله سبحانه وتعالى، ثم ليكم انتم. شرفتوني واكرمتموني وعزتوني ورفعتوا راسي قدام الدنيا كلها باللي انتم عملتوه. والله 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 لن يستطيع اي رئيس يقف مكاني هنا انه يقدر يعمل حاجه بدونكم. لن يستطيع. قصه وطن يتحدث عن نفسه، شعب أراد الحياة فاستجاب له القدر.
النار بيفوتوا يا مصر، واقفين حالفين نعيشوا يموتوا لمصر، في استقبال من العمال نفر واحد فيك يا مصر. طارت نور عجلة دور خفف حبة الشيلة، خلي الناس أحلام الله يديموا عليك يا مصر. الحلم قصاد الدنيا الليلة العين على مصر، هتدور بينا تاني هنا بينا يا مصر. النصر المصري الليلة.
Welcome back. And as I said at the very beginning, we chose the file of economy to speak about today with all the steps that were taken during 4 years of hard work in which many areas were really taken care of, particularly after 2 revolutions that have really reflected on our economy. We spoke about the economic mega projects that were carried out in several areas, infrastructure, housing, industrial, and many others. We also spoke about those mega projects and even other projects that were carried out throughout or across all the governorates of Egypt, and that has great significance in order to relocate the population instead of being in one particular area. We spoke about economic measures and reforms and plans that were put by the government in order to put the economy back on track. All this we'll be speaking about in our episode tonight. Before we delve into our discussion, let me welcome our guests. Ambassador Mohammed Elhouseni, Economic Committee Director at the United Nations. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure, ma'am.
If we start with the economic situation right now and how you read the economic situation right now after 4 years of drastic and important steps taken.
The first, if we look to how Egypt was in 2011 and how Egypt it was in 1980. Because before you look to what happened in the last 4 years, you need to return back to the history. In 1967, Egypt had been attacked. And then we go in a war in 1973. And that 2 wars have eaten the resources of our country because we are a rich country. And then from 1973 up to 1985, we was readapting our economy back. And from 1985 to 1995, we was going in, let's say, in an age to Egypt to rebuild its economy, but with a new era of foundation, let's say it like that. And from the 95 up to 2011, we have fallen in, let's say, in as how the associations abroad and the organizations abroad look to Egypt and look to its economy, that it was failing and it was not a stable economy. There was a corruption in the country, infrastructure is going down, education going in the poorest level, health is going to the poorest level as well. The investors is coming to the country, they don't find a trusted government of that. I'll give you an example in that, and that's what we need to say to the audience so they would know what happened exactly. So when you see from 2000 to 2011, the investors was coming to the country, and then they will put a lot of investment, look like in Toshka and other projects. And then you will find there is a corruption in the government. Then you will take the land and you will take all the things that the investor have spent in the country because there is no law, there is no regulation can protect him. After the revolution,
actually there was a law. There was an investment law.
There was.
There were several adopted investment laws throughout
1976 and 1984. Those laws was on the table, but there was nothing coming in the ground because there is a lot
there
of
were,
cases.
however, they were not giving enough facilities to the investors in order to be able to
and also protecting the investors. And then after that, what happened is in 2011, after the revolution happened, all the country come upside down, and there is a revolution. Revolution meaning that if the country was going smoothing in one line and then suddenly it's a stop, then it will fall, then it will rebuild again. Based of a national administration will take this hardship. And after the election happened, Egypt was going to the dark ages for all of us, as how we see that our country was going in a different diversion that we was not aiming to have. And the revolution of 30 of June happened, and then the current administration, when it take the leadership of the country and the office itself, we find that we are dealing I am not talking about the president, I'm talking about the whole administration, that they want to build a future to our kids. It's started from Egypt, the Future Conference in Sharm el-Sheikh. That was the first step that Egypt have taken, going further to build a new vision of its economy. In Egypt, the future in Sharm el-Sheikh, what happens is that we have shown to the whole world, worldwide, that what we have as a project, that it will be done in the next 2 or 3 years. And let's be clear in that most of the companies and investors was not believing in us because they have a bad history with us in the last 20 years. But what we have did is we have shown them about the Suez Canal project and the Zone Corp over there and the infrastructure projects and all of that kind of mega projects that the administration take the responsibility and give the promises in Egypt, the Future Conference, and we promote that to the whole world. And what happened after that? What happened after that is Egypt changed its vision and it changed its way to the whole world, that the people was witnessing and the organization was witnessing. Is that administration really will do something different, or it will be the same?
A kind of boost
something like
to
that.
the confidence of the world. We work in silence and suddenly we get out and suddenly we are inaugurating mega projects and big dreams.
And you need to know that the outside organizations, that they were shocked that really happened in that particular time in Egypt when President al-Sisi announced that the new Suez Canal will be done in 1 year. Nobody believed in that. When the Zone Corp would be categorized and assembling in the same year, nobody believed in that. The roading and the bridges and the tunnels for the infrastructure, nobody believed in that. And one of the most important things also before we go in the investments and the economy, look to the Egyptian citizen in 2011 and from 2010 to 2013, how the normal citizen was suffering in the normal base needs of him on the electricity and the water and the recensions and the transportation, and everything in the country was going down. So this administration to take this vision and this plan to rebuild Egypt, the new Egypt, which is Egypt 2030, that was hard, that was not easy. Rebuilding your country from scratch, because the foundation and the infrastructure in the country, it has built in Muhammad Ali time.
Yes, definitely. Before we continue on with our discussion, let me first take this report and positive prospects for future investments. Let's watch the report and we'll come back for discussion.
Egypt's mega projects of natural gas, network transportation and agriculture are some of the achievements made during President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's 4-year tenure. In the field of infrastructure and national mega projects, the Egyptian government has steadily worked towards developing infrastructure in the last few years, underscoring the fact that diversifying energy resources is a key for sustainable development. To create an appropriate atmosphere for investment, it was necessary to establish well-built roads, bridges, tunnels, in addition to electricity stations and airports. Therefore, the state developed and established 7,000 kilometers of roads at a total cost of £85 billion and nearly 200 bridges at a cost of £25 billion. One of the most important challenges that faced Egypt was creating job opportunities for millions of Egyptians and to decrease unemployment. Egypt had to absorb a massive flow of Egyptian workers returning from other countries in the region hit by crises. As a new priority for Egypt, the government is now strongly focused not only on job creation for young people, but equally on supporting youth entrepreneurial activities. Unemployment decreased from 13.4% to 11.9% because numerous job opportunities became available due to the number of national projects being established. Egypt started giving increased attention to supporting small and medium enterprises or SMEs. Supporting such projects is of vital importance to the national economy, as they have a clear impact that directly affects citizens and their economic activities, which in turn boosts job opportunities and employment. One of the priorities of the state was to eliminate the presence of informal districts and slums. As a result, the state started to establish 25,000 residential units to provide appropriate housing for residents from such areas. The state established 245,000 residential units for middle-class citizens at a cost of £32 billion. Ending the power crisis that hit Egypt in 2014 came as one of the main priorities of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's agenda. The administration worked to double power stations in Egypt to sustain an estimated 25,000 megawatts. That is in addition to the 3 natural gas fields, الضوء, North Alexandria and Noruz, that are expected to increase Egypt's natural gas output by 50% in 2018 and 100% in 2020. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's administration was keen from the beginning of his presidential term to establish a number of new cities and engage in a massive reclamation project to prepare 4 million acres for agriculture. The state is now working to establish 13 new cities, besides the establishment of Egypt's administrative capital that is currently under construction. Egyptians have proved throughout history their ability to thwart plots that target their development and progress. The Egyptians are well known for their intervention on time to ward off any dangers besetting them to spare themselves the fate of other Arab countries. The Egyptian people have endured with much patience the current economic reform plan, disregarding skeptics who have their own hidden agendas. The Egyptian people see their president and government, along with the armed forces, racing against time to overcome the problems. They see how the accumulated problems are being addressed in a radical way, such as the problems of slums, housing, transport, agriculture, healthcare and education, while several projects such as developing the Suez Canal zone and expanding the Suez Canal passage are launched. They see the inauguration of several development projects in all parts of Egypt. The Egyptians see now that severe crises that plagued the country a few years ago, such as the crisis of energy and electricity, are now over. Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers of roads and hundreds of flyovers and bridges, along with tunnels, are constructed using the state-of-the-art methods. Long live Egypt!
Right, welcome back. And as we said before the report, and even during the report, that mega projects have been taking place, particularly of what concerns infrastructure, housing, even other industrial projects in the fields of energy, in the fields of mining and others have been already taking place, and all of this contributed to the Egyptian economy. Back to you, Ambassador Elhouseni. And if we speak about the drastic measures the government or the leadership has carried out, with, even though that they were very drastic and they had their own reflection, but they were very much needed. How far do you think those measures really contributed to putting the economy on track, and exactly what were those measures?
Actually, looking to the measures the government took, and they took hard decisions. Let's put it like that. One of the measures they put, floating the pound, and how we see that in that particular time when we announced that we are giving the free system of floating our pound to, of course, enhance and, let's say, encourage investments and deal with the reality of our currency, because that had been done, and that was number one of the measures that they have took at that time, because the government, they was facing a lot of let's say a lot of hardships dealing with the bureaucratic system that uneasing the floating to the direct investment to our country, because when you see that in the shortage have been come in the foreign currency based of 86.4% importing your goods, the necessary and the unnecessary goods, that's give you a lake of dealing with the international companies, and especially in China. So in that particular point, what happened is floating your pound And studying the market at that time, it was a brave decision, because when you see that how much was the pound when you come to the banks in Egypt, it was 8.65, and in the other market it was 18.5.
The parallel market or the black market, yes.
So when you look to that point, why was this shortage? Why we had exactly this shortage? Because all the factories in the country was stopped. There was a lot of situation that we was not dealing in how we will solve to the industrial investors and coming and sitting with them by the specialized banks and the industrial field and find out why that industrial wheel have been stopped. Of course, we know that there was a lot of restriction about the loans they was taking, about the increase of the prices that they was taking in the gas and the waters and the electricity. That's why when the factories in our country, and as you know that the industry is the main, let's say it's the main boon of the economy. So when your industry is collapsing, meaning your economy is collapsing. This is number one. So what you did is you deal in the reality that what is the actual price of the pound comparing to the dollar, and then you float it, but you float it in a free system. Floating in a free system, what did it give to the Egyptian citizen and what it give to the investor? To the Egyptian citizen, it was, of course, a hard time, but this is what we need to do, because we was taking, let's say, pain relievers in the last 20 years, not facing the reality what we had.
If we speak about realities of what we had,
yeah.
And there have been many challenges facing us,
yeah.
particularly at this recent period after the two revolutions.
Yeah.
How do you think the leadership dealt with, particularly after two consecutive revolutions
yeah.
that has taken much effort? How do you think the leadership and, of course, the Egyptian authorities dealt with those challenges? First, what were exactly those challenges, and then how the government dealt with them?
Challenges with you in the first revolution, the whole country have stopped. I'm talking as everything operation in the country. In the private sector was collapsing, facing that. We was talking about the industry, the factories already was closing because there is no security at that time in 2011. And then when you come to both for the normal citizen, the challenge they have is that they cannot leave because you are not giving them the normal base needs they have. And as a government itself and an administration at that time in 2011, what you was facing is you have take a country full of debts. You cannot
foreign
even
reserves down to earth.
Of course, and number two, that there is no any vision in the front of you to those investors. You need a currency. You need a foreign investor to come to your country. You need to cooperate with other companies. You don't need to take loans and loans and loans, and then in the end that your political diplomat decision is going down. So the challenge is
that you're taking loans with no strategic vision in order to understand even how will you
and just to operate the days. You know, it was Egypt. It was running look like it's not a state. It was running as a company. How you operate your monthly income and outcome, and you are not even looking to the national resources and how you will operate it. In 2011, after the collapse had been done, why the people have done this revolution? Because there is no justice. They didn't find any justice. And even the administration come after that, they didn't give them justice. And it was a year time until the first election had been done. You cannot even cover to the citizen the normal needs of them life need. And as a country, you find that there is the government itself have been divided in two sides. One of the side with and one of the side is against. And then when you come to here, how you will operate the country, it's already divided in a 3 or 4 sides with you. And you don't have look like
right. This period was a hassle, and
in 2013,
and in 2013, the issue started to see another turning point. And from this turning point, we started to really face our challenges. If you may tell me more about the challenges that in 4 years and how, what were they exactly, and how the leadership tried to deal with such challenges in a way that can really put our economy on track and hence achieve what the common citizen aspires for.
Yeah, let's put it like that. In 2013, when the current administration and the government authorities and ministers and the cabinet member have talked, the office and the leadership at that time, what they was facing Egypt is stopped, as by the meaning of stopped in the overview to Standard and Poor's, to Moody's organization. All of them, they was looking to you as your economy is C plus even.
So the first priority was to build institutions.
Of course, that's number one. Number two is to give a system to the government to how to operate in your vision. And number three is to put a plan and what you need to do in the next 4 years.
As priorities.
As a priorities. Yeah.
Yes.
And it comes here to, they categorize actually what was the country. The first thing they was looking is the normal citizen, he need the goods to live, as we talk about to the normal citizen. So these goods, do we need to import our goods from abroad, or we can manufacture it inside the country? And that time, that you cannot do that because already your factories are stopped, and you don't have that authority of the small and micro and mid enterprise. So you cannot cover the needs of the market. So the government and the authority at that time inject more foreign currency to import the base goods to the citizen, as the seeds, as the gas, as a lot of material that they are using for 6 months. And then after that, they want to announce that the constitution, that all the offices inside the government can go under an illegal umbrella, and then they finish that, and then they make a map to our way in the next 4 to 5 years. In that particular time, what we have did is, and when the administration took the leadership at that time, after we have the constitution, and after that there is a president come to the office, we find first, okay, let's find the first thing to Egypt is the infrastructure of the country. That infrastructure didn't been developed, and that was one of the horrible points that the administration was facing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely
So they get the expertise, and they find that it haven't been developed since 20 to 30 years, and that had been done since 70 or 80 years ago. So what they did, they bought a plan in the next 4 or 5 years. And here, what stopped me when we was making the analysis about the movement to the administration now, that they was running to be beyond the time, because that mega project they have did, they cannot do it in a year or two. It take minimum 4 to 5 years. But finding, before they start the project, they did one thing, and that's what stopped me. It's united the Egyptian house, as what Saad Zaghloul did in 1919, that we was all divided. In 2013, there is no security in the ground, that you are facing the against, which is this Muslim Brotherhood and what they have did in our country, and you are facing others which they don't have any, let's say, any duty in the community, and you are facing international countries is manipulating and putting them fingers in our country. So to do a development, you need to unite this state. So this is what you did. You put an administration, they put a view that we will
So
build.
let's speak it like that. They put functioning system, functioning institutions.
Yes.
And then they put a vision to carry out throughout 4
rules and regulations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they started implementing throughout a vision of which priority or what should becoming
step.
as a first step by step.
Yeah, correct.
And within all this, within a framework of working over the clock to carry out with what they want and achieve exactly what they want in a time frame.
Yeah.
Right, and this was a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
Yes. If we get back to other challenges, beside, of course, security that was put on track, and still we are, our armed forces, of course, with the police, are truly doing hard efforts to do that.
Yeah.
Also, as you said, boosting confidence in our economic atmosphere, and that through the courageous steps that were taken by the authorities. One of them was also the investment law that was amended.
Yeah.
And of course, other measures that were taken, including the subsidies, and dealing with the issue of the subsidies. How far do you think that the leadership or the government went on to make our economic atmosphere attractive, not just to the foreign direct investors, but even before that, the local ones?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because when you look here, as what we start our interview, that we said that the foreign investors was not looking to you in a good and a trusted view. That as how we started, as what you show them in Egypt the Future Conference. Then when we look here to this important question you have asked, to give this kind of trust to the local investors, and this is number one priority before the foreign investor, that you needed to put this investment law. Investment law, it was the umbrella, the new investment law, it was the umbrella of breaking the bureaucratic system we had in the government, of clearing the corruption by putting the anti-corruption system, of making the one window, which is the new technology solution have been implemented in our government, that I can do everything look like in Dubai or the other countries. And other point of view.
Yes, but because I am running out of time and I need to, in 1 minute, you tell me, what do we need in the upcoming 4 years?
In the upcoming 4 years, because we didn't get time to talk about what exactly have been done, but what we need is we need to promote Egypt, and we need to promote this mega projects have been done in the country in the last 4 years, and we need to cooperate with PR and investment houses worldwide to let the investor, not through our commercial department embassy worldwide, no, by investment and PR houses, to show them as what we did in Egypt, the future, what's have been done in Egypt. And now, because the investors have 5 key points to invest in your country. The first thing is entering his investment capital. The second thing is bringing out his profit. The third thing is finding a country respected rule and regulation. The fourth thing, find a biographic and geographic zone country for them, as we have it in Suez Canal. And the fifth thing and the last thing is what you give them as a benefits. So you need to put them as a presentation and go to the international houses and companies, and by that you can seek the investors to come. This is number one. And number two, as an economical view, you need to stick with the 2030 economic view of Egypt, because that plan is how you will re-adopt Egypt in putting the infrastructure and the mentality to the government itself, and at the same time you will put the technology solution. You will not be talking by the same language of the 70s and the 80s as how we are running. No, there is a capital of a state, and let's say that there is an administration is giving orders, and the capitalism is the line of operation in the whole the country, encouraging the private sector and opening a new semi-government companies to be adopting the energy and the transportation, the agriculture, the industrial, in all the kind of fields. By information you will give to companies, you will make a semi-government companies and cooperate with the private sector, and by your private sector you will encourage this national private sector to have a cooperation with the international investors.
Yes, unfortunately, my time is out. Yes, very much unfortunate, because we had lots and lots of other issues to speak about, particularly of the economic track. But I guess we will be continuing on with this file. Ambassador Mohammed Elhouseni, Economic Committee Director at the United Nations, we thank you very much for being with us.
My pleasure, ma'am. My pleasure.
Dear viewers, I guess that takes us to the end of this episode of Egypt's Vote. I'm pretty sure we will be continuing on with many other files, and Egypt's votes. The importance of Egyptians to go to shape up their future is much needed at this upcoming stage. Egypt's Vote, and yes, Egypt determined for the future. Many thanks for watching.